but the society has already opened their doors to them. They're no longer intruders, they're inmates of their own sinful prisons. So that is why a time would come, and I know from the study of traditions and from the study of Islam's prophecies, where this type of plague, as they also call it, a type of plague, is going to play a havoc with the peace of the world. Deaths would occur in large scale, like more than the known traditional plague. And why I say that? Because Hazrat Rasul Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam 1400 years ago prophesied that God, I don't remember the words, but God had told him, word to the effect, that when a people become shameless and they begin to display sex, then God punishes them with a disease which appears with the swelling of a gland in the neck or somewhere. And that is a type of plague which would destroy them and punish them heavily. Who on earth could imagine 1400 years ago a situation whereby people would display sex? In the worst possible country in the world at that time, it was inconceivable. And in the society, holy society of Islam, which was being created and built, nobody could imagine that man would go that far as to publicly display sex. These are the very words. And then says the punishment would come by way of a sort of plague. See? So far, so good, because it's HIV positive but not AIDS as yet. But when it activates, and it may activate during a certain environmental condition, which will be, imposed on man. There may be some global environmental changes within a few years, before the century, I believe, which suddenly will be promotive to the spread out of the inherent viruses, and they will suddenly become activated and turn into AIDS. That is my concept based on traditions which we find mentioned by Rasulullah 1400 years ago. Imagine. Recently, Hazrat Masih Maud Islam, comparatively recently, during the plague, said that God had informed him that a sort of plague would specially hit the Christian world, and European particularly. And I don't remember European, but Christian world especially. And it would be a sort of plague, and it will play havoc with the peace of people. Now this was said around 100 years ago, around 1900, beginning of 1900. Now when I studied the history of plague in relation to Christian history, I was surprised to find that plague visited the Christian world in those areas where Christians were persecuted, and largely hit at the Jewish or the Roman population around. And then almost exactly after 100 years it repeated itself. So if a 100 years pattern of the punishment at the hand of plague is established in relation to Christian history, because of the similarity between Masih Maud Islam and Jesus Christ, this could as well have happened. This may as well happen. And when you read the plague punishing the enemies of Jesus Christ earlier, then another similarity appears, and one is absolutely left without doubt that the same pattern will take place. Now, when I reached here, before that, up to a few years still after, there was no concept of AIDS being, or even when AIDS concept was born, nobody thought it was a type of plague. Until within 2-3 years, the specialists started talking about it as a type of plague, a sort of plague, pestilence, So then I was reminded of Mr. Islam's prophecy A type, he used exactly the same words. A type of plague will hit, and there you are. So many lives, by millions, may be lost, because this is the design of Allah. He has divided this disease into two parts. The dormant stage may last for even 8 years, and people may not feel any signs. They may be relieved, they may feel happy and secure. Okay, HIV, but nothing doing, And during that phase, they can freely intermix, and they are the people who spread the virus to the others in the society. So before 8 years, this would have multiplied by many times. So millions may become a billion by that time. So once it gets activated, then there is no stopping it. Right? So punishments of that sort will happen. So you can't say all of them would convert to Islam, but after some heavy punishments, global wars and catastrophes, I believe when the man's arrogance against God is smashed and is leveled to earth, then would be the time for man to accept Islam, and the West cannot accept before that time, because fortunately and unfortunately they're on the top of the world today in their advancements and achievements, etc. So they have that snobbish attitude which may not be displayed in their ordinary day-to-day life, but it is there, underlying their, all the solutions to the world problem, interrelation with the other world countries and the other countries of the world, that in underlying snobbishness of we are superior and we have right to dictate things to the world, that is what is unfortunately standing in the way of their accepting truth and bowing their heads to a superior authority. They are the superior authority, That is the same attitude as that of Pharaoh. He saw signs, yet he rejected them, because this is a very terrible complex in man. He thinks himself superior and worldly wise, powerful. Then he sees the truth and rejects it. So that is why so many people in the West talk favorably of Islam and their values, but they never dream of accepting them. See? I think it's time now for us to depart. Another function. Although we are short in this meeting by a few minutes, but many times we have taken more time. So I take leave because I have to go to a ladies' session where non-Ahmadiyya and non-Muslim ladies have been invited to ask me some questions. So I take leave of you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Pleasure meeting you.
MTA International, reaching the corners of the earth.